Go ahead.
A 6-word story is pretty self-explanatory. Instead of writing pages and pages of writing a creative story, the goal of a 6-word story is to tell an entire story within 6 words. So, to create any story, you need a theme. And to create my 6-word story, I decided to use my FYS class, Watching the Detective, where we discussed different murder mystery books, and so our theme for our 6-word stories was murder mystery. And so, with no further ado, I'm Allison Sapala, and this is my 6-word story. In the Alley with the Pistol. So, if any of you have heard of the game, the Hasbro's Clue game, you'll understand why this saying is the way it is. To any of you that have not, the game of Clue is unlike any other. So, all the characters in the game of Clue are fictional. And they're all victim, the victim, Mr. Body, he was found murdered in his mansion in a room using a specific item. So the objective of the game is to discover who murdered Mr. Body. Also, which room was Mr. Body murdered in, and with what weapon was he murdered in. With what weapon was he murdered? So the answer then lies in the middle of the board game, whatever it may be. It can change every single time, which makes the game of Clue so fun. But any player, by the course of deduction and figuring out good common sense, they can figure out the clues and what happened. And the basic way to win Clue is to identify the solution cards, which are the who, the what, and the where. But the game of Clue is murder mystery. But in real life, murders happen every day. And people such as police, forensic scientists, detectives, they are the ones that need to solve the problems. They're the ones that need to figure out who, what, where, and all the different details about a different murder. They need to figure out how it happened, why it happened, who did it, with what weapon, and even sometimes who was the victim. So, unlike in the game of Clue, the victim is not fictional. Mr. Body is a fictional character. But in real life, a victim of murder can be literally anyone. They can be a mother, a father, your grandma. Sorry, but it could be literally anyone, a parent, a teacher. Anyone goes. These people could have been murdered in many different reasons. In real life, though, we look to understand what happened to the victim. And by gathering clues, we hopefully will lead us closer to solving the case. Some cases, though, they go unsolved, which hopefully will never happen, but obviously it does. And in my 6-word story, it gives us clues. So, the clue of in the alley. So, in my story, this could be where the crime was committed, or even where the body was found. We're not quite sure, but you can assume based on your perception of my story. And then with the pistol. So this is most likely what was used to commit the crime, but we could also go a little bit deeper into this clue and be like, how was the pistol used? Was it shot, or was it used to hit someone against the side of the head, or was it just found laying in the area of the crime? We don't really know. And if it was shot, how many times was it shot? Or even why? Why would someone use a pistol to murder someone? Another question we could ask about my story is, was the victim innocent? Or was it a criminal who kind of deserved what came to them? Who knows? Even with all these answers, there's still so much unclear. And about who murdered the victim, why did they murder them, and all these questions that the detectives, they're not in the middle of the board like in the game of Clue. Unlike in the game of Clue, it's not in the little envelope. The answer is found in all the clues left behind at the scene by the murderer or by other people standing by. There could be cameras found surveying the place that would lead you to more clues. There could be footprints or fingerprints left behind. In the game, each player is investigating a room. But in real life, detectives, they go to many different places. They go all over the world in some circumstances, and they have to investigate different witnesses, and they have to suspect or figure out different information as to where or why or how the victim was murdered. Where in the game of Clue, there are only 6 suspects. Sometimes the case at hand can be too much for a single person to handle. So sometimes people are put in like a Sherlock and Watson situation where there are 2 detectives working on a case. Or it could be a lone detective, like Sam Spade, who is working alone and trusting nobody, trying to figure out who murdered his partner in Dashiell Hammett's The Maltese Falcon. We could also ask, what are the characteristics of the investigations on the case? How do they go about gathering other clues? Are they like Hawk in Robert B. Parker's book, The Cold Service? Like how Hawk is ruthless and will do anything to get an answer out of someone? Or are they more ethical? These are all questions that must be asked when we're investigating. But now, let's have you be the detective. Do it for yourself. In the alley with the pistol are your clues. What do you think happened? Who do you think did it? In the game of Clue, there are only 6 different people. But in real life, the murderer could be anyone. And there are so many more suspects than just 6. So you know where it happened. You know with what, but do you know how and who? Each of you have probably already thought of a situation that has happened based on my story, but not even I know the right answer necessarily. Some of you could have thought that in the alley with the pistol, someone was murdered because they were just walking in the wrong area, or someone was malintent and they wanted to come and purposefully kill someone. Or it could have been an accident. We really don't know. There are so many different ways that this story could go in. So, be the detective, write in the alley with the pistol down on your investigation sheet, and now think of all the different angles that this case could go in and start your investigation.